The 2020 BattleToads reboot on the Xbox One takes place 26 years after the last entry in the series, which was the BattleToads arcade game in 1994. The original BattleToads was released in 1991 and developed by Rare. It was a combination of beat-em-up stages as well as platforming and even racing stages. The game was ported to many consoles, and then there was even a crossover with the Double Dragon series named BattleToads and Double Dragon: The Ultimate Team. But after the arcade release in 1994, the series was abandoned until an E3 teaser trailer in 2018. It wasn't until a year later at E3 2019 that we got our first glimpse of the character design and gameplay. And it left a lot to be desired for most fans. I, however, was not really disappointed. I mean, beat 'em ups are one of my favorite all-time genres, but I was never really a huge Battletoads fan. I felt that the character design and gameplay looked pretty similar to what I was expecting. At the same time, if I had been anxiously anticipating this return to the series for the past 26 years, then I can also see why some fans would be disappointed. The Battletoads 2020 rendition on the Xbox One was mainly developed by Delilah Studios, but overseen by Rare. The story starts off with the Battletoads Zitz, Rash, and Pimple locked in the fantasy simulator bunker. Once they realize this and escape the bunker, they come to find out that they are no longer intergalactic heroes. They try getting jobs and leading normal lives, but are miserable, so they set off to once again defeat the Dark Queen, until they find out that she suffered from a similar situation and has lost all of her powers. Apparently there is an alien race called the Topians that was responsible for locking them all away, and are now ruling the galaxy, so that they decide to team up together and set off to defeat the Topians. You'll play through 4 acts, which are broken up into several different stages. You'll have your classic beat-em-up style stages, some platforming stages, then some puzzle platforming stages, along with some racing stages. There are also several shoot-em-up stages that play like a twin-stick shooter, and some mini-games that focus mainly on quick-time events. The total game will take you no longer than 5 hours to complete, but probably closer to 4 hours. The stages are often broken up with cutscenes that move the story along. This is the highlight of the game, as the voice acting is very well done, and there are plenty of silly 90s Saturday morning cartoon humor. I think they should really consider making this into a cartoon series, in all honesty. My kids watched me play most of the game just because they enjoyed the cutscenes that much. My favorite style of stages were the twin-stick shooter stages. I mean, I love shoot-em-ups in general, so maybe I'm a bit biased here, but every one of these I found myself to really enjoy playing. The third-person racing stages were probably my next favorite stage, followed by the puzzle platforming stages. The 2D racing stage was probably the most difficult stage, but it was nothing like the nightmares of the old NES game. There were multiple different quick-time event stages, and some I liked, and some were pretty lame. So you're probably thinking that it sounds like a heck of a game, right? Well, I mean, not so fast. The beat-em-up stages were by far my least favorite style of stage, and let me explain why. I'll first start with the good. The character design and stage design I didn't personally have an issue with. I thought the stages were very colorful and were unique enough. Some stages gave you the ability to move between the foreground and background. They also have little security mini-games throughout some of the stages, which require you to solve before you could progress. These I really enjoyed. All 3 of the Toads played differently, as Zitz was super fast, Pimple was the brute, and Rash was the most balanced. They also have their own unique special moves or combos that gave them plenty of personality. There is also a tag in and tag out system that allows a player 2 or player 3 to jump into the game at any time. You yourself can also hop between Toads mid-fight if you'd like. So this is where it becomes more of a preference, but I don't care for any of the enemy design. I mean, I think they really tried to make the enemies unique with their own attacks, and maybe some you have to stun or spit bubblegum on before you can actually inflict damage. And I guess they were trying to break up the repetitiveness that a lot of the beat-em-ups fall into, but in the process I feel that they just made the gameplay extremely clunky. The enemies were mostly all little aliens smaller than you, but required like so many hits to defeat, and it didn't make the game challenging, but just plain boring. And to make it worse, the beat-em-up stages were way too long. I mean, most of them were 20 plus minutes long, and I'm sure that you could knock down that time on multiple playthroughs, but they were so boring the first time that why would you ever want to? It's not fair to compare it to Streets of Rage 4, but the fighting in that game is so fluid it makes you feel like a total badass. Here you just can't wait for it to be over so you can get to the next stage. Luckily, there really aren't that many beat 'em up stages in the game, and I believe the entire second half of the game is absent of them. All in all, I did enjoy the game. If you have the Xbox One Game Pass, then the game is free to download. At less than a 5-hour investment, I think it's worth it. Now, if you're solely coming here for the beat 'em up experience, then you may want to skip it, but it's possible that you may have a different opinion than me. I think there is more good than bad with Battletoads 2020. There is some replayability here, as you can go back and replay stages to get collectibles that you may have missed or try to improve your time or score. But all in all, I think I'm good. Hope you found this video helpful, and see you in the next one. Later.
Let go, Pimple!
You're not punching a baby.
But it's ugly!
Drop the ugly baby.
Don't really drop it, though. Just set it down gently.
Not until I explain myself.
Toad Huddle. She's really got us over a barrel with that butt ugly baby.
I vote to let her talk.
Yeah, fine, whatever. Let go. It stings when you pinch it off like that.
Okay, Queen, you have exactly 10 seconds to explain yourself. Go!
I'm being held prisoner in this park by a race of celestial aliens named the Topians who stole my powers and hired a giant guardian to block my escape. I've secretly been using radiation to create sentient carnival toys that I hoped would mutate into fierce warriors, but instead came out brassy, all about the holidays, and anatomically correct, to name a few.